Welcome back, everyone, for another deep dive.
Yeah.
Today, we're going to be looking at Genesis chapter 2
Okay.
from the King James Version of the Bible.
Right.
So you might think, this story already.
Yeah.
Creation, Adam and Eve, the apple, the whole thing.
Saw that, yeah.
But trust me,
Okay.
there's a lot more going on here.
All right.
We're going to be uncovering layers of meaning about
Okay.
what it means to be human,
Okay.
the choices that we face,
Right.
and our connection to something bigger than ourselves.
I like it.
Oh.
So Genesis 2, it goes beyond just recounting the creation. It dives into these nitty-gritty details, these nuances that reveal all these profound insights about humanity's relationship with God and the world around us.
All right, so let's jump right in.
Okay.
The chapter kicks off with God resting on the seventh day,
Right.
blessing and sanctifying it. Why start with a day of rest?
That's a great question.
What's the significance?
Well, it's not just about taking a break.
Okay.
This act establishes the Sabbath,
Right.
a concept that echoes throughout Jewish and Christian traditions. It's about acknowledging the completion of creation and setting aside a sacred time for reflection and connection with the divine.
So it's like God is setting a rhythm for life right from the start.
Yes.
A pattern of work and rest that we see reflected in the natural world and our own lives.
Exactly. And then notice how the very next verse describes the earth before rain.
Okay.
With a mist rising up to water the ground.
Okay.
It's like a canvas being prepared for a masterpiece.
So there's a sense of potential, of anticipation.
Yes.
Everything is ready for
God's next act of creation.
God's next act of creation.
And what an act it is.
Right.
The creation of Adam formed from the dust of the ground and given the breath of life.
Wow. What does it tell us about human nature?
This detail really gets to the heart of what makes us human.
Okay.
The dust represents our physical connection to the earth, grounding us in the material world.
Okay.
But the breath of God signifies something more.
Okay.
It's the spark of the divine, that spiritual essence that sets us apart from the rest of creation.
So we're both physical and spiritual beings.
We are.
Rooted in the earth, yet reaching for something beyond.
Yeah.
And speaking of beyond, God places Adam in the Garden of Eden,
Yes.
a paradise overflowing with beauty and abundance.
Right.
But amongst all this lush vegetation, two trees stand out, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil.
There they are.
What's the deeper meaning?
They're not just random plants.
Okay.
The tree of life, you could say, represents immortality, eternal existence in the presence of God. It's a powerful symbol of the potential for a life lived in complete harmony and fulfillment.
Okay, the tree of knowledge.
Now that one.
Yeah, it also is a bit more ominous.
There's a sense of mystery and danger surrounding it. It represents the ability to discern, to choose, but also the potential for those choices to have consequences.
Yeah.
It's the entry point for moral awareness, the understanding of good and evil.
So in a sense, the tree of knowledge represents that moment when humanity steps out of childlike innocence.
Precisely.
And to the complexities of moral decision-making.
That's it.
Okay.
And it's important to note that the text describes 4 rivers flowing out of Eden, one of which is the Pison. It's specifically mentioned as having gold, bdellium, and onyx stone.
Light highlight those details.
Yeah. It's the significance. It's not just about geographical trivia. It emphasizes the abundance and richness of Eden, reminding us that paradise isn't just about lush greenery.
Right.
It's also about beauty resources, the potential for human creativity and craftsmanship, and perhaps it hints at the allure of material wealth.
Right.
A theme that will become increasingly relevant as the story unfolds.
It's almost like foreshadowing the temptations that will come later.
Right.
Right. The pull towards material possessions.
Yeah.
And the challenge of balancing that with our spiritual connection.
Yeah.
But before we get ahead of ourselves, let's go back to Adam. God gives him a very specific task.
He does.
Tend the garden.
Tend the garden.
Is this about literal gardening? Or is there a deeper meaning here?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And it gets to the heart of what it means to be human.
Okay.
Is our purpose simply to maintain a physical space? Or is it something more profound? Is it about stewardship of the earth? A responsibility to care for creation as a whole?
Wow.
Could it even be a metaphor for cultivating our own inner landscape, nurturing our spiritual and intellectual growth?
So tending the garden could be about so much more than just weeding and watering plants.
Exactly.
It's about taking responsibility for our own growth, for the well-being of the world around us.
Exactly.
Right.
And this theme of responsibility is heightened when we consider the command regarding the forbidden fruit.
Okay.
But of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, thou shalt not eat of it.
Okay.
For in the day that thou eatest thereof, thou shalt surely die.
Okay, so the stakes are high.
The stakes are high.
Eat from the wrong tree. And there are serious consequences.
That's right. Okay. This introduces the concept of free will within boundaries.
Okay.
God gives Adam a choice, but that choice comes with responsibility.
Right.
It's the beginning of a tension that we still grapple with today, the desire for knowledge and autonomy versus the need for boundaries and obedience.
It's like that classic struggle between curiosity and following the rules. And speaking of desires, God soon realizes that it is not good that the man should be alone.
Right.
Cue the animals.
The animals.
So why create the animals first?
Yeah, why do that?
If they weren't the right fit as companions.
It highlights the unique need for human connection.
Okay.
Animals provide companionship, but God recognizes that Adam needs something more. Someone who can share in his experience on a deeper level.
Someone who understands that whole dust and divine breath thing
exactly
we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So God creates woman from Adam's rib.
From the rib.
This imagery has sparked countless interpretations.
It has.
Over the centuries.
Yeah.
What's your take on it?
It's such a potent symbol, isn't it?
It is.
It suggests this profound connection between man and woman, an equality rooted in their shared origin.
Right.
They are not two separate beings, but rather two sides of the same coin.
Two sides,
and perhaps it also speaks to the vulnerability and intimacy
Okay.
that are essential to true companionship.
Okay, and then there's that striking detail about their nakedness and lack of shame.
Right.
What's going on there?
It's a powerful image of a world untouched by sin and guilt. They're completely comfortable with each other and with themselves, reflecting the purity and innocence of their pre-fall state.
Okay.
It's a state of unity, not just between man and woman, but also with God and with all of creation.
So in a way, it's a glimpse into what it means to be truly at peace. With ourselves and with each other.
That's it.
But as we know, this state of harmony won't last forever. Right?
The seeds of the fall are already planted.
Okay.
The presence of the tree of knowledge.
Right.
The introduction of choice and consequence. These elements foreshadow the challenges that lie ahead.
It's like we're seeing both the beauty and the fragility of creation laid out before us.
Right.
The incredible potential for good, but also the lurking shadow of temptation and disobedience.
Oh, that's all there.
It's all right there.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it really makes you appreciate the complexity of the human story, doesn't it?
Absolutely.
How even in the midst of paradise, there's this undercurrent of tension, this potential for things to go wrong.
And that's what makes Genesis chapter 2 so compelling.
Yeah.
It's not just a sweet story about creation.
Right.
It's setting the stage for all the drama, all the joys and sorrows that will unfold in the human experience.
It's laying the groundwork for everything that follows, both the light and the shadow.
Okay, so let's dig a little deeper
Right.
into some of these key details.
Okay.
We've got this image of a mist watering the earth before rain existed.
Right.
What's the significance of that?
It's a beautiful image, isn't it?
It is.
And it speaks to the nurturing role of God.
Okay.
Providing to creation, even before the natural systems we're familiar with are in place. It's like a tender, almost intimate act of care.
It's like God is personally tending to the earth. Preparing it for the life that's about to burst forth.
Precisely. And then we have this fascinating detail about Adam naming the animals. What do you think is the deeper meaning behind that?
Well, it seems to highlight the unique role of humanity within creation. Adam is given dominion over the animals.
Okay.
Not in a tyrannical sense, but as a steward, a caretaker. It's about recognizing our interconnectedness with all living things and our responsibility to care for them.
And it also speaks to our capacity for language and understanding.
Right.
By naming the animals,
Right.
Adam is demonstrating his ability to observe, categorize,
Right.
and make sense of the world around him.
It's like he's taking on the role of a scientist.
Exactly.
Exploring and classifying the diverse forms of life.
And then there's that intriguing detail about the Pison River.
Yeah.
The one with gold and precious stones.
Right.
It's not just a random geological fact, right?
Right. It makes you wonder
Yeah.
why the text specifically mentions
Why?
these precious materials.
It's a subtle reminder that even in paradise,
Right.
there's an awareness of material wealth and beauty.
Yeah.
Suggests that these things aren't inherently evil,
Okay.
but they can become a source of temptation if we prioritize them over our relationship with God.
So even in Eden, there's a hint of the challenges that come with material possessions.
Yes.
That pull towards valuing things over relationships.
Yeah.
It's like foreshadowing the struggles that humanity will face as we move further away from that state of innocence.
Precisely. And then, of course, we have the creation of women from Adam's rib.
Right. What do you think about the significance of that imagery?
It's sparked so many different interpretations over the centuries, hasn't it?
It really has.
But at its core, it seems to speak to a profound connection between man and woman.
Right.
Not just a physical connection, but a deep spiritual bond rooted in their shared origin.
Exactly. They're literally formed from the same substance, suggesting a fundamental equality and interconnectedness.
Right.
And the fact that woman is created from Adam's side.
Yeah, from the side.
Rather than his head or his foot. Implies a relationship of partnership and mutual respect. It's like they're two halves of a whole.
Two halves.
Designed to complement and support each other.
And then there's that incredibly powerful detail about their nakedness and their lack of shame.
You know, that's something that always makes people sit up and take notice.
Right.
What's the significance of that detail?
Well,
in the context of the whole chapter.
It's crucial to understanding the innocence and purity of their pre-fall state. They're completely comfortable and unself-conscious in their bodies, reflecting a state of being where there's no need for pretense or concealment. It's a state of complete acceptance and vulnerability.
So it's not about sexuality or impropriety.
It's not.
But rather about a deep sense of wholeness and harmony.
Exactly.
With themselves and with each other.
And it speaks to a time before sin and shame entered the world, before the need for covering up and hiding arose.
Okay.
It's a glimpse into what it means to be truly at peace with ourselves and with each other.
But as we know, that state of innocence won't last forever.
It won't last.
The introduction of the tree of knowledge, the command not to eat from it.
Right.
These elements create a sense of anticipation. A foreshadowing of the choices that lie ahead.
Right. The seeds of the fall are already planted.
Okay.
And that's what makes Genesis chapter 2 so much more than just a creation story.
Right.
It's an exploration of the human condition,
okay,
the complexities of our nature, the struggles and triumphs that come with being alive.
It's setting the stage for the entire human drama.
Uh-huh.
The choices we make.
Right.
The consequences we face.
Yeah.
The longing for connection.
It's a pursuit of knowledge.
A pursuit of knowledge.
All
those themes that continue to resonate with us today.
They do.
So if we zoom out a bit.
Okay.
What are some of the key takeaways for you from all of this?
For me, it's about recognizing the beauty
Okay.
And complexity of creation, the incredible gift of life that we've been given, but also the responsibility that comes with it.
It's like we're being reminded.
We are.
That paradise isn't just a place. It's a state of being. And while we may not be able to fully recapture that original state of innocence, we can strive to cultivate those qualities of peace, harmony, and interconnectedness in our own lives.
Absolutely.
And it's also about understanding the inherent tensions within human nature, the pull between our desires and our responsibilities, our yearning for knowledge, and the potential consequences of that pursuit.
It's like we're being given a glimpse into the very heart of what it means to be human with all its contradictions and possibilities. And that brings us to a final thought-provoking question for you to ponder.
Lay it on me.
If Adam and Eve hadn't eaten from the tree of knowledge, would humanity still yearn for knowledge and understanding? Is seeking knowledge a fundamental aspect of human nature, regardless of the consequences?
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does.
Is that desire for knowledge, that curiosity, somehow like woven into the very fabric of who we are?
It's a fascinating question.
It is.
And it challenges us to consider, like,
Yeah.
the implications.
Okay.
What if our pursuit of knowledge, even with its potential for missteps, is ultimately what propels us forward as individuals and as a species?
Interesting.
What if the capacity for both good and evil is inextricably linked to our ability to learn, to grow, to reach beyond the boundaries of what we already know?
So maybe the story of Adam and Eve isn't just a cautionary tale about disobedience.
Yeah.
Maybe it's also a reflection of the inherent tensions within human nature.
Within us.
That drive to explore.
To question.
To understand.
Yeah.
Even if it means facing difficult choices and unforeseen consequences.
It suggests that the capacity for knowledge, for discernment, is a fundamental aspect of what makes us human.
Okay.
And perhaps it's through grappling with these complexities, with the interplay of choice and consequence, that we truly come into our own as individuals and as a species.
So Genesis chapter 2 is so much more than just a creation story.
It's an invitation.
It's an invitation.
To explore the depths of human nature, the interplay of our physical and spiritual selves, our longing for connection, and our insatiable curiosity.
It's a blueprint for understanding the challenges and the possibilities that come with being human.
And it reminds us that even in the midst of paradise, there's a need for discernment, for responsibility, for making choices that align with our deepest values and with our understanding of the divine.
Well, there you have it, folks.
There it is.
Another deep dive complete.
Another one down.
We journeyed through Genesis chapter 2.
We did.
Uncovering layers of meaning.
Layers.
About creation, purpose.
Free will.
Free will and the complexities of human nature.
Oh, that.
We explored the symbolism of the garden, the trees, the rivers.
Yeah, all the important details.
Those all-important details that often get overlooked.
That's right.
We wrestled with big questions.
We did.
About what it means to be human.
Yeah.
The choices we face and the consequences that ripple through time.
And now we leave you with one final thought to ponder.
All right.
If the Garden of Eden represents a state of perfect harmony and innocence, and the Tree of Knowledge represents the pursuit of knowledge, could it be?
Yeah.
That true paradise isn't about remaining in a state of blissful ignorance?
Okay, so
could it be that the journey of growth, of learning, of grappling with difficult questions is ultimately what leads us to a deeper understanding of ourselves, of the world, and of the divine?
Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep diving deep
into
the mystery of life.
That's right.
Until next time, happy pondering.